whatever they have read in that chapter at the end. So that is why mind map is given at the end of the chapter rather than giving it at the start. So, and also if there is, for example, if there is any surprise test which the teacher is going to conduct, so instead of, the students might not have enough time to go through the entire chapter. So just by seeing the mind map, they'll have a complete revision of that chapter. So this is the reason where we have given a mind map in this manner. As you could see here, all the concepts, like we started with the characteristic of living organism, we dealt with all the characteristics here, you could see, and certain important pointers are mentioned. And again, we have dealt with a concept called habitat. Again, the abiotic components, what are the adaptations with respect to plants, animals, terrestrial habitat, aquatic habitat, everything is mentioned in this particular mind map. So this is how a mind map looks like, and I would like to show you certain other mind maps as well. So as I have talked about comparison tables, so this is how in one of the physics chapter we have given the ancient methods of measurement. So when there was no scale, when there was no measuring tape, so this is how the measurements used to take place. So we try to compare each one of them using the tabular format. So this would be more clear for the student rather than reading a passage about it. And again here certain images with respect to IVF. So the in vitro fertilization procedure, so we try to explain the entire procedure with respect to one diagram. And here you could see the parts of a flower. So instead of just discussing them, we have actually given a big image of flower, and we have highlighted the components and what is their function, structure, location, etc. And these are certain other comparison tables. You could see the property of transparency. We have, given it in the form of a comparison table. Then the types of roots. Okay, this is one of the image of a heart. You could see how beautiful it looks, and it is completely self-explanatory. You could see how the passage of blood goes, whether it be deoxygenated blood or oxygenated blood. And here you could see the AV modules are being given, the QR codes beside each and every concept. You could see, I'll show you in the textbook itself. Yeah, so in this chapter, motion and measurement. So physics chapters, I did not mention this before. Physics chapters are given in blue color, biology in green, and chemistry in red. So here you could see that beside each and every concept, there is a QR code. And this QR code will lead you to the AV module with respect to this particular concept. So teacher can just show that AV module and explain that particular concept, or she could just explain and then show the AV module. It's completely in their hands. And you could see here also. So for each and every concept, you could find a AV module. So this is what been highlighted in this. And this is one particular mind map. So we have given an image here, and we have tried to again point out all the structures with respect to a flower. And apart from flower, all the concept which they are going to learn in the chapter is being present in this particular. They have learned in this chapter is present in this mind map. Now coming to the next aspect, which is the elaborate E. And I'm sorry, 1 minute. Elaborate E. So elaborate phase is actually there in order to encourage the learners to analyze complex scenario and connect those related concepts. So we have given certain extra information to the students, new knowledge which they are going to gain through this elaborate phase. So under this we have certain components such as elaborate content, the legends, misconception and facts, brain teasers, did you know, facts, etc. So let's check one by one. So this is one of the elaborate content. So elaborate content is not a part of the concept. I mean, it is a part of the concept, but it is something, an extra information which is not required for the grade 6 if you check the actual content. But this extra information will try to ignite that curiosity towards that particular concept for the students. So absolute value is something which is discussed in measurement chapter, where we have given that extra information for the students. And certain other elaborate content is what you could see, this is from Getting to Know Plants, where we discussed about root modifications. So here we have given certain images for the student. We have also provided a QR code for it so that they could go into it and check the AV module related to it. So these are different types of roots which are special, which have special abilities, which are not the primary role of a root being there in this particular plants. So this is again a new concept for the students we gave in the form of elaborate content. So this bulb symbol indicates that it is an elaborate content. And apart from that, every chapter has certain misconceptions and facts. So especially when it comes to science, there could be many misconceptions. So we tried to answer them, and we gave the actual reason why this misconception is and what is the actual fact behind it. For example, you could see the strength of a magnet depends only on its size is one of the misconceptions, which are very common. So when it comes to that particular concept, whichever common misconception we could find, we actually gave it in the form of in this format. And again, factual knowledge when it comes to that misconception, that the strength of magnet doesn't depend on size, but it actually depends on the material of the magnet. So a larger magnet may not be stronger, but if it made of a weaker magnetic material, then we could say that it might be a weaker one. So this is one particular misconception. And apart from that, we have given certain brain teasers in the form of riddles. So in the mid of the chapter, whenever students come across these particular aspects, so they'll feel it very interesting for answering these kind of questions. Then certain factual knowledge is given, certain did you know kind of questions are given, certain factual knowledge is being highlighted through this particular components. And at the end of the chapter, you could find legend section. So by seeing this, can anyone tell me what is the legend section about?
It is knowing about the scientist.
Yes, you are correct. So legend section is all about whichever concept they have read in that chapter. So whoever prominent scientists related to that particular chapter, concepts dealt in that particular chapter, we have given that scientist information here, and how did he actually contribute towards this field is what has been mentioned through the legend section. So this also comes under the elaborate phase. So this is all about the elaborate phase components. Now coming to evaluate. So as you already know, evaluate is about assessing the learner's understanding, that whatever they have read in the chapter, we are trying to assess that knowledge. So there are multiple forms of assessment which is being given in our next science book in the form of let us try, let us practice, which are the home assessment, self-assessment rubric, practice test papers, model papers, chapter exercise. There are many. So let us try. I'll show you how a let us try looks like. So at the end of each and every concept, there will be a let us try section in the form of objective type of questions like fill in the blanks, true or false, correct the underlined words, then unscramble the words, analogies, etc. So there are many formats in which we have given this let us try section. So once teacher completes a particular concept, so it is very important for the teacher to know that to what extent the student have understood that concept. Then only she could move forward, or else she need to explain that concept again in a more better way, so that students will be able to solve these kind of simple questions. So as you could see here, this concept called measuring the length of a curved line. So once she deals with this concept, shows the activities, goes through the elaborate content, and at the end, so there is again a did you know, here she might discuss this, and at the end of this particular concept there is a let us try. So she need to ask the students to solve these questions, and based on that, based on how students are answering it, she'll be able to go forward to the next concept which is being given, that is motion. So in this way you could see that after end of each and every concept, like after the end of motion, we have again a let us try section. And I'll show you some other let us tries. Yes, this is electricity and circuits chapter. Here you could see at the end there is a let us try, find the odd one out. And again, after electric circuits, there will be a let us try. After conductors and insulators, there is a letters try in the form of true or false. So this is how letters tries are being incorporated. And again, there are other form of assessment. Generally, you could find them in the student book. So I'll be showing them to you. So these are the various ways in which letters try are included. Correct the underlined words, analogies, odd one outs. And let us practice is nothing but the home assignments. So there are various home assignments in the student book. I'll show you how those looks like. And this is a simple screenshot for it. There are many type of questions like HOTS, art integrated, picture talk, true or false, choose the correct option, etc. So this is how a home assignment looks like. And self-assessment rubric, again, this you could find in the student book, where we have given the LOs which we have written at the start of the chapter. You might have seen the learning objectives, right? So those the same learning objectives are mentioned here in the self-assessment rubric, and we are trying to analyze at the end of the chapter that to what extent they have understood that LO. Okay, so whether they could be able to solve the questions with respect to this LO on their own, or whether they still need the help of the teacher. So this is how we are trying to self-assess. This is for the students to do on their own, to understand themselves that to what extent they have understood the chapter. So this is how it looks like. And this is the index page of the student book. Here you could see we have given the practice test papers and also a model paper. So all this comes under the evaluate phase. So this is how a model paper looks like. So it's generally for 80 marks, and it is for the allotted time of 3 hours. And we have given different sections with different type of questions which they need to solve. And yes. Coming to the next E, the last E. So we have dealt with elicit, where we have talked about real life applications, curiosity bridge, learning objectives, and concept map. And then engage, where we have dealt with the quick checks to check the prior knowledge of the students. Explore, where we have seen various activities, inquire like a scientist, science behind the game, science everywhere, etc. And when it comes to explain phase, we have seen how the concepts looks like. Okay, and then coming to the elaborate, where we have checked the elaborate content, misconception and facts, did you know, brain teasers, etc. Evaluate phase, where we have seen let us try, and we have seen the home assignments, then model papers, test papers, etc. And finally we are at the last E, which is the extend. So extend is all about encouraging learners to apply whatever knowledge they have read in the chapter to the real life situation. So how do we do that? We do that by solving the student book. So student book follows something called a 6D approach. So let's check that how the 6D approach looks like. So the various components when it comes to 6D approach are discover, deduce, do it yourself, debate and discuss, develop and decide. So all this comes under the 6D approach. So we'll go through them one by one. So before we go into the student book, I would like to ask you, are there any queries with respect to the textbook which we have seen earlier? Yes? Writer of the book, you meant to say the author of the book, right?
Yes, ma'am, and their qualification.
See, the writer of the book, I could say, is Usha Rani ma'am, and she has more than 20 years of experience when it comes to academics and scientific knowledge. So she has done her master's more than 20 years ago. So this is what the qualification is when it comes to the author. So it's Usha Rani ma'am.